Bigger crowd than I expected. I'm getting nervous already. Just give us a second. We'll fill the table with junk. Or treasure, as we say.
The funny thing is, like, Joonas has no idea what's in these suitcases.
It's a bit like digging for gold, and I'm seeing all this gold over here.
Yeah. And we're also
Rubbish for many.
leaving the stage dirtier than before, I guess.
Why not? This is my old friend as well.
Yeah? You have one?
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, I think that's me.
All right, as we fill the table with too much stuff, they already gave our intros, so that's,
They did. They
we
stole
have 10
like
minutes
5
more
minutes of
time,
our
yeah.
talk. Yeah, so our plan for today is basically no plan, which is making me very nervous. Joonas is the very spontaneous, lazy fuck.
Facts. She's way more professional than I am.
But I thought it would actually be nice because I think, at least for me, making sounds is always a lot about spontaneous creativity and get the juices flowing and trying out stuff and fiddling with stuff and finding something that fits. So I thought, why not do that live on stage?
Yeah, you get to see what our daily lives are in our jobs, which is not knowing what we are doing, but at the same time totally knowing what we are doing.
Yeah, so I brought a few things, and initially we said we're just going to look at those things and see what sounds we can make with them. But I couldn't resist bringing like a few shoes that are a bit limited in what we usually do with them, but I'm so passionate about footsteps that I had to bring some shoes to show you some differences in different shoes. I've heard so many footsteps in games where I was like, ugh, they suck. So,
as in like a tentacle, like, or
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, this talk is also kind of interactive. Like, if any one of you has a question, just go, hey. And like, if you want to know about anything specifically, and so on, just let us know. This talk is not us; it's also you.
It's also hot.
But don't tell Amaze that, because
So, should we start?
Yes.
Any questions already?
So, Q&A. No? Thank you. Good night. Yeah, I guess this is a view into how us as kind of sound designers and Foley artists view the world through our ears a lot. So something like, even a water bottle. We brought all this junk and I take the water bottle from upstairs, but...
That's the thing, you know.
So something like a water bottle, you go, yeah, it's a water bottle, but it's also a great source of sound. Like, me as a weird kid, I used to just, open like, what's it in English? Like a kitchen sink, you go, water comes down. I would take those and just open them partially. One in the kitchen, one in the bathroom, and listen to those do the sound together, walk to a point where they kind of start acting cool and physically do weird sounds. I would do stuff like that as a kid, which was probably pretty worrying for my parents, but here I am. Even more worrying. Improvising a talk in front of people, great. But yeah, like a water bottle alone, like just do this kind of stuff. Alone doesn't sound that great. But if you have a microphone kind of nearby, you probably won't hear anything. You can do that with like a good microphone, and then you boost the signal. You get good like punchy sounds, which is great for all kinds of tentacular action and mutants.
Yeah.
Please save me.
Can I just start with the shoes? Because shoes are so...
Yeah.
Then you need to hold the microphone.
Yes, I will act as your human microphone stand.
Great.
Hope for no feedback.
Like
Sound
shoes,
guys, prepare for feedback.
I find it so fascinating. I can go back. I brought my portable stone. It's like a stage kind of stone, because sometimes I also do like live foley for like radio plays and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
It doesn't sound like perfect, but for live stuff it's really good. So I can walk on this. And this is like the shoe I'm wearing anyway. And I hope you can hear the differences.
Yeah, I mean, immediately I see something that we do differently.
Like what?
You are using your feet for footstep sounds. I use
your
my hands.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I get foot fungus on my fingers.
Like this is a... Do you hear any difference down there? A tiny difference? Yeah, I mean, foley is a lot about tiny differences. And that's something that sometimes annoys me with sound that I hear in games, for example, that I feel there's not enough difference between things, like subtle differences. Like rain can sound so different depending on how much, on what surface, in what circumstances. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and that's the same for me with shoes. Like I own 60 pairs of shoes, I would say. And these are all sneakers, by the way. It's not like I'm using a totally different shoe.
Yeah, try a little different one.
Through all of them.
Oh, yes, perfect.
It's just three left. Now this one is like a, what do you call it?
Like a boot?
Yeah, not like a full-on boot, but yeah, I mean, suddenly completely different. And I have two other pairs of heels.
This box is a great idea. I need to steal this idea.
Yeah, and even if you don't think, like, does it really matter? Like, as soon as you have, like, a story to tell and a character to describe, for me it makes all the difference, like, to sometimes hear that people sound different or act them differently. So, yeah, that's like a fraction of my shoe collection. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, the world of sound is interesting. A lot of sounds that you might hear from, like, I mean, a lot of you probably know this stuff already, but you know, like from movies, video games, audiobooks, whatever, like swords is a good example. In real life, if you have like a good, kind of good functioning sword and sheath for the sword, if that's the right word, it doesn't make a shing sound. But in movies, video games and stuff, we want the shing sound. And for that, there is a good, memorable quote. The rustier, the crustier, the rustier, the better. Or how, the rustier,
I think
the
it was the rustier, the crustier, or something.
Something like that. So rust is actually really nice for sound design. Because if you have like smooth metal, like the swords, it doesn't really make that much sound usually. There are exceptions, depending on, you know, material thickness and stuff. But rust is something where you have texture. And that texture you can kind of easily grab into. So when you create sounds with rustier stuff, you get like these sword sounds easier. Okay?
You want the saw, right? I felt bad about packing that saw because I was like, it's not rusty.
Yeah, but... Oh yeah, it's going to be perfect. Could you please hold the microphone?
Yeah, sure.
So, rusty, not so rusty, but together, crusty. And something cool with stuff like saws is it bends. So that's already kind of a thing as a sound designer / Foley artist. We go, hey, it bends. So when something like metal bends, it changes its pitch. Like the sound changes. So if I'm like down here, oh, wow, lots of rust. And if I'm up here, I don't know if you can pick that up, but a microphone will pick that up in a studio. When I'm here, it's like more shing, shing, shing. Okay, it's like ring, ring, ring. I don't know, can you hear that? Thumbs up? Hell yeah. Oh, lots of thumbs down. Oh, no.
It's just hands, Joonas.
Yeah. But that's kind of good and interesting to kind of keep in mind, like finding rusty stuff, like going to abandoned farmhouses or, flea markets or stuff like that. You might find cool rusty items, but also in our job, it's important to remember stuff like tetanus and other not so nice things from rusty objects, like stepping on a rusty nail is not very fun, but it might sound great. Happened to me many times.
Actually, like I've drunken so much weird shit out of bottles that have been standing in my cupboards for ages. And then when I foley a movie and the person is drinking, and I love the sound of sloshing water in a bottle, like when people pick it up and you hear like this tiny. Yeah, but with glass bottles, it's super nice because they have this like tiny ring to them. And when the people then drink, I can't help it. I also drink. So I was like, oh no, what I'm drinking. So yeah, dangerous job.
It is. And then, the connection of sound and what happens in our minds is interesting. Like the water thing, you hear water, or like the classic example of if your friend is sleeping, they're over, you had a party or something and they're sleeping. Take some water and just pour it next to their ear. They wake up, they have wet themselves. But don't do that, not to me. I did it already. But it's kind of funny how sounds are so, how would I say this in English? Kind of so instinctually, inherently human in lots of ways. Like a lot of things we kind of perceive by sound, which makes our job interesting. Because like the sword thing, like who would imagine that this makes for a great sword sound?
I think we should also tell people how to make things rust. There's a really quick thing you can do when you want to make something rusty. You just put it in vinegar overnight, and then you have a rusty thing. You didn't know?
Yeah, I've done different ways. Like I just left stuff outside. There's nails.
This might work in Finland, but not in Berlin. Like, if I put something on the streets of Berlin, it's gone.
Yeah, actually, that's
where I find my stuff,
Oh, nice bicycle.
It's actually true. I once found a wheelchair on the side of the street. It was really old and dusty. It was not in use, I swear. But I did feel a little weird, like dragging that thing home. But yeah, streets of Berlin are like a really good foley source.
Yeah. I bet.
My home, let's say I moved out with my foley stuff recently, which is very good for the health of my family, because they used to run into, stones and suitcases full of stuff. And now I have a separate room, and everything's kind of like orderly, but not as orderly as yours. Like you with your labeled crates and all, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
For me, it's more like this.
Yeah, I have a bunch of crates with just junk in them, like crates for glass objects, crates for metal objects, crates for more rustier objects and all that stuff. Shoes. I have a bunch of shoes as well. All of them smell, but
I started putting like bars of soap into mine.
And
now, like every morning when I come to my workspace, I take the bar of soap out of one shoe and put it into the next one, and like going through all my 60 shoes with the soap. It helps.
Well, I guess I need to wash more often. But that's actually an interesting observation as well in our profession. Like living in a city versus living in the countryside. Like I live in the countryside, in the middle of the woods, in Sipoo in Finland, nearby Helsinki, countryside of Helsinki. And over there, we don't really have that many like cars and stuff driving about. So if you record stuff like, let's say, outside, if you want to go outside to record footsteps or bushes or animals and stuff. If you're in the city, there's a lot of background noise, of course, because there's cars, people, airplanes, everything, wheelchairs, and in the countryside, I mean, there are birds, insects, occasional helicopter maybe. And that's about it. It's really quiet, and it's a different environment to record stuff in, which is good to keep in mind. Like, if you live in a busy city like Berlin, and you want to just record like nice outdoorsy stuff, just drive a few hours somewhere to the woods. I mean, sounds obvious, but it's obvious.
Not to me.
But yeah, let's see. What do we have over
Yeah,
there?
choose something.
Looks like me. Let's see, what would be something interesting? Actually, yes. This is a story. I'm just spending time telling you stories, but I'm not showing the actual sounds. And a shameless plug, I worked on this game called Go Mecha Ball, which you play as this mechanoid, kind of like a Transformers, kind of a robot fella.
It sounds amazing, by the way.
Thank you. And it can turn into a ball, like this. And it was interesting to record stuff like the ball rolling and making that into a loop. And like, my studio space is not the biggest. I mean, it's maybe half the size of this stage, not even third of this stage, I don't know. But so I had to like think of, how do I make ball rolling sounds consistent? And that's something fun. Again, in our profession, we have to kind of overcome these barriers. And I came up with the idea of making like train track routes for the metal ball. And the metal ball goes on top of different various surfaces. So it built these kind of train tracks out of stones, out of metal pipes, out of, I don't know, wood, whatever, plastic, and just roll the ball on those rails.
That's super interesting. I would have approached it completely differently.
Yeah.
This is why I brought this drum practicing thingy.
Pad, yeah.
It doesn't work well with that thing because it's too big, but if you have like something smaller, a smaller thing you want to make rolling in a loop, this is probably not going to make any sound at all because it's too... I have something...
maybe I can roll around in it.
I would just put the rolling thing on the ground and put this on top. And then do circles. And it's like a super quiet sound. So it's usually more like a thing for...
Imagine rolling sounds.
But like, you see, like I can do the rolling motion and I can control the speed and maybe not the ones in the back, like I do this, kind of. So you get like a loopable sound, because if you would go in one direction, you would have like, and then you would have to spend like hours in post to stitch them together. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was just making roots and going, comes back, and have the microphone in a place where it captures the whole root. And it's interesting.
Or you can also take something that's like a bowl and then have the thing. But obviously that depends on like the surface you're looking for. Like yeah. Oh. More.
This could be our next 10 minutes. More.
No, come on. Let's try to go through some of the things before we run out of time.
I want to hear this one. Sorry. Personal curiosity.
That's like... Yeah, I mean, I think you hear more of the bowl than of the thing, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's, again, an interesting observation. With when we do sounds, it's not just the object that you are holding, it's also the receiving object of the sound, and you have to kind of decide kind of which sound do you want to be prominent. Like sometimes the object that we have in our hands and make the sound with is not actually the sound that we want to capture. It's the thing that we are hitting with the object or sliding the object on top of that we think about. So, it depends on what we want to capture and how to use stuff.
Yeah, also that's kind of like the same thing, but resonances can alter a sound like dramatically. Like if you have this thing, for example, it's like a coffee grinder.
Oh, these are great.
This doesn't make much of a sound. It squeaks, but it doesn't do like the whatever. And it's pretty quiet on its own, but if you attach it to... Where's my toaster?
Oh, here, I stole it. What?
Can you
toaster?
put it on my toaster? It's kind of like with the footsteps. It's not a wide difference in this case.
What if you turn the toaster, maybe?
The toaster is like... Okay, maybe there's better examples for that.
Hi, this
like
is a live improvisation.
This thing...
What? Does it make a sound?
It does make a sound.
Oh, it does, yeah.
But
the microphone won't
super
pick it up.
quiet. But if you put it on here, it suddenly is much louder, and you hear the resonating object below. You don't hear that it's a toaster.
Yeah, maybe you don't hear it with this setup right now, but it made a very cool sound.
Yeah, that's always the difficult thing with live Foley on stage. Like a lot of the noises we make are pretty quiet, and if you have speaking and monitors and feedback, it's a really hard thing to pick up properly.
Yes, our job is a lot about working in quiet spaces where there isn't air ventilation making sound and all that stuff, which is not always the easiest thing to kind of have. If you just make sounds from an apartment, it can be hard. Like we both work from dedicated studio spaces where we, have to build around that stuff, which is interesting. And quickly about the coffee grinder. So screw all that. The coffee grinder. The cool thing about kind of objects with levers like these is that with every lever you can find a sweet spot where it will start making squeaking sounds. This works for everything. Just have to find the right kind of frequency, the right pressure, and you will always get squeaky sounds out of stuff. Every door will make a squeaking sound if you find the right resonance, so to say.
There's another coffee grinder down there, and that's much more forgiving for a live situation. Should I hold the mic?
No, you can perform. You know it. It's your, maybe.
Or you can pull the lever up and get rid of the squeaking.
Can I go a bit slower? I can find the bit faster.
Oops. Well, we should have opted for a stand.
No. Well, it makes squeaky sounds. But yeah, the cool thing is with the resonance thing, you can kind of feel it. When you kind of find the spot, you can kind of feel your hand vibrate within the object, not with the not within the object, but with the object. So when you do you go, and then you kind of find it, your hand starts doing this too, and you kind of find the cool resonance spot. It's really cool. Once you kind of, and this is homework for all of you. I guess you didn't sign up here for homework, but life has different plans. Homework, just try a door in your home or something and just push it in different, kind of with different amounts of force. And you will find your door will do that sound. And that's super fun.
Can I also give people homework? Then you have 2 homeworks.
Essay next week.
If you use your feet for walking, that's a totally different movement than we do naturally. Usually we make some distance while walking, but if you stand in front of a microphone, you have to walk in place. And that sounds totally different if you don't train it. So what I like to do when I'm outside or somewhere where I can walk a few meters, I like to listen to my footsteps while I walk normally, and then at some point I stop and try to continue walking in place and see that it still sounds the same way that it did before. And it's a pretty hard exercise. And it's a great thing to do on the street if you feel nobody's watching you, because it might be weird if you're like... But yeah, it's fun. Like listening to footsteps, I think, is a really good exercise. Lots of people don't even know how to describe how different footstep sounds when you go upstairs or downstairs. It's like a totally different movement, and the surroundings change the sound so much. Like, is the floor a little bit gritty, or is it a little bit wet, or whatever? So yeah, maybe listen to the footsteps for a while.
As humans, when you walk upstairs, you use more force to go up, and when you go down, you use less force. So it's a bit different, yeah.
Yeah, and you also do the scuffing often on the stairs, like the...
And if you live in Berlin, a great place to practice this is Bergheim, because everyone else is doing this. So you can just practice your walk over there.
But you won't hear anything. Okay, Joonas, I packed this thing just for you, because it's a robot.
Oh, yes. Let's see. Oh! And I want to come back to the robot, but this gave me another idea. Man, it's cool.
It's a tea, I think it's a tea thingy. What do you call it? Strainer? I don't know.
Are there any...
No, you can just use it and nobody will get hurt.
Oh no, I don't know how to operate this. Have you got like a door handle or something?
No.
Oh,
I have this thing.
That could be maybe good.
Oh, wait, there's something else stuck in there. Oh, this one is a bit...
So this is actually really close to our job, just looking for stuff. Will it make...
What are you looking for? Tell me.
Looking for something... Well, this might pass. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, what the...
I have a squeaky device.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you see it, but it's only rusty at the end, which is where I put it in vinegar, and the rest is like, okay.
Oh, that's that's your creation.
Yeah. Whew, I created.
Oh, this actually is pretty good for what I have in mind. So, a thing in like a lot of movies and video games and stuff is weapon handling sounds. A lot of people might think that, hey, I mean, it's also cool. Well, cool is maybe the wrong word, but you know, for sound purposes, cool. Like handling like actual weapons and doing like click, clack, clack. But a lot of times, a lot of foley artists and sound designers, well, same thing, kind of. I don't know what I'm talking about. Kind of use like stuff like door handles or metal, or like bundle metal stuff together to create like a weapon handling sounds. Let's say like loading. I mean, in our job we spend like hours searching for the correct sound. But you know, you combine metal objects. You know? Oh, my finger went. Yeah. So yeah, combining stuff to kind of create those weapon sounds, and you can kind of manipulate them more. And if you have like sci-fi weapons, or like a medieval game where you have like a crossbow with a million things, just take a bunch of metal, like you get these cool sounds. Of course, I'm now using my vocals and not the actual objects.
How do you know it's the correct sound? Do you handle weapons normally? Like, how do you know this?
Well, thus far I managed to fool everyone. But so the thing is, actually, I will answer this. But first, how many of you are people who work with sound? Hands up. Oh man, you're seeing through my lies. And how many of you are like game designers or like artsy people who make like, let's say, animations and stuff? Cool.
See if you have same hands.
Same hands. So ideally for the artsy people and game designers and stuff, it's always good to show the sound people like animations, send them like little clips, video clips of animations and stuff. So if you have some intricate stuff, like let's say a gigantic crossbow with like moving parts. Like if they see those, and you can kind of see like, okay, here is a metal lever that does the kind of thing. Here's a thing that goes. The sound designer sees that, and they can make sounds for those little details, and that already helps kind of sell whatever you're seeing on the screen. Just adding those little details to see all the dangling stuff and whatever, and that's important.
Yeah, like usually like a sound consists of like a lot of layers, so you can also like get rid of a specific layer when you don't need it, and yeah, making the sounds themselves with some objects like really helps in like having control of everything. Like you might find a nice sound in the library, but then it's like a different speed of what you need, or not the exact right weight for the weapon you want to make sounds for or whatever. So it's really handy to just fiddle around with stuff and find things. So like weight and size and like the quality of the material is like, for me, the first things that I think about. Like, is it a big thing? Is it a tiny thing? But also, is it? Do I want the sound to be clean? Like, is it like a clean sci-fi weapon, or more like a rusty, whatever, rusty crusty element? Because that also determines a lot of like what I use.
Yeah, exactly. And for references for like realistic gun sounds and stuff for the sound designers or artists who want to see how, like let's say, weapons work, there's a bunch of like. We live in the era of internet. There's a lot of videos and stuff that for reference. Like, I'm not personally a very well-versed person with what this rifle sounds like and what that rifle sounds like. I'm just like, it shoots, it does a thing, like done. But like, if it has to be historically accurate or something, I will look at references or.
But also, like, realistic is often not what we're going for with sound. Like, we're telling stories with sound. And that's, like, you all know it from cinema. When you punch someone in the face, it makes almost no sound. I mean, yeah, if you slap someone with your flat hand, it does make a sound. But, like, punching, there's not much happening unless you break a jaw or a tooth or whatever. But the typical, like, that you hear, like, that's just not there in real life, but you want to hear it usually in cinema and in games as well. So realism is a weird word when you look at media, I think, because when you look at something through a camera, you also have like a, what do you call it? Like the frame of the picture. You don't see everything. You can't look around, so you're already framing what you're showing, what you're telling, and it's the same thing with sound.
Sound, yeah. And for
we
like,
have another question there.
Quickly, on video games specifically, there's things like button presses to think about. So you can emphasize that, and actually, I'll get to your question in 10 seconds. So you have like button presses, and let's say it's like a huge wooden crossbow. Like for the button press, like I would maybe take some like big wooden object and go like, just do that at the start, like. Something like that at the start, just to get the button press to feel good. So it's like, instead of like, sounds much better than. But yes.
Yeah, well, we're on the topic of like weight and stuff, and you were talking about the rolling ball sounds before. Like, how would you go about scaling something up that's like too big to have a prop for? So like, let's say the ball is like 5 meters in size, or like another example, if you like, specifically for me, I'm working on something that has like a huge sword. Like trying to make like impact sounds for that, and I'm like, I don't know, kind of stuck on that.
Yes. Perfect. Yes, that's the dilemma I faced with Go Mecha Ball. These, in the game, they look like small characters, but when we take them like into, like our concepts are that they are the sizes of houses and stuff. And I'm like, I had a small like petang, is that the word in English? The game that you throw this metal ball. Old people love it in the park. So I used one of those, well, and me too. I used that ball.
You're old.
Not here. Come on. So I used this that petang ball, and that ball was supposed to sound like this. the size of this room. So how to do that? So here is a trick with like stuff like microphone placement and stuff, where you might put the if you put the microphone closer to a sound, like if I talk here, I sound much smaller. If I bring the microphone here, I sound a bit bigger, right? And a more proximity. So that's one way to get the source sound, the actual recorded sound, to sound bigger. And then, for something huge, what I do personally as a trick is I like to pitch shift the sound down, stretch the sound, and then add a bit more kind of bassy, rumbly stuff. That will already sell the feeling of something's bigger. And I would say like a bigger object resonates more. Like, let's say a big giant steps down. It's like, if a smaller kind of a little tiny flea person is like, beep. Like that already kind of helps sell the idea of something being like bigger.
Yeah.
So
can I sneak in there?
Yes.
So it's like also about like making the environment vibrate. So if you have like the giant walking, you might hear other stuff like rattling when they walk by. Mm-hmm. So it's not only the object itself, but also the stuff around that might change depending on that.
Yep. And quickly as a recording tip, microphone close, add like kind of more rumble to it, but also recording the object on top of something like, is it safe? Yes. It's like if you have like a box, let's say a wooden or whatever material, like a box for carrying bottles or something. If you record the sound on top of that, the hollow inner of the box will act as a resonator, which will help sell the feeling of an object being bigger, because like I mentioned, beep, like it has more body to resonate, and it will make it sound huger. So I recommend trying like a hollow box, recording on top of a hollow box, cardboard, wood, metal, whatever fits the sound that you're creating.
A table can also be a good.
What?
Like a wooden table can also be a good source.
Yeah, wooden table. And same with footsteps. If you want bigger footsteps, something like a bridge is good to record. Go outside, put a microphone under a bridge, and you get like a nice...
Yeah. Also, hard case suitcases are also excellent for resonant bodies.
Yeah, and plywood. Putting plywood on like planks of wood, put plywood and put nothing in. Like if it's a loose resonating object, it will make more resonant sounds. And if you put something that kills the resonance, it will be more solid sound. So that's a way to help make bigger sounds. I hope that answered your question. If you have more, I'll be around. It's a long topic.
I have no idea at what time we are right now.
Is that it's 11:15. We still have an hour.
Let's go. Okay, let's pick some objects. No, really, like, where's the...
Oh, it's 12.
Did you steal the no.
No, there's...
Come on, I brought it for you. Do something with it. What do you do with it? I know what I would do.
I mean, there's it's hard with this setup and this microphone to do exactly all the things that I have in mind. But this little robot fella can be, I don't know, 200 different sounds. This could be keys, for example. You're gonna drive a car. It could be from a weapon, like a little toggle. Like, change the firing mode of a weapon. Or it could even be like a button press. Like.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
I would use it for UI sounds. Like a lot of UI sounds don't have like just the clicky thing, but also like tiny things that do like
transition
or whatever.
Movement sounds, yeah.
Yeah, like or if you have like a menu that you can sweep through or whatever. Like lots of UI sounds have like metal sources in there. And that's what would come to my mind first.
Yeah. In a lot of video games, especially when you go in menus, it's like click, kind of thing, and it's stuff like that.
Yeah. Just go through the UI and NO and you'll be like...
I was just going to say, I have a microphone that will turn on if you have any questions. So I'll come to you.
Oh, right.
Just wanted to say, if anyone has more questions, then I'll come to you, just in case. Because that happened earlier.
Please, questions.
Yes. You
I guess
pick,
now
I
it's
run.
Q&A, because the time is 12, yeah. Finally.
Oh, sorry.
Over there.
Oh, gee.
I mean, I want to do this talk. I don't mean that. I'm just sweating of coming with things to say.
I have a question. If you would want to make a sound for plants growing, like in a video game, and the plants are showing up, this would make no sound, obviously. But what would be your approach? Yeah.
Ta-da! So yeah, tape is a good thing to add. I mean, you have to find it. It's not too easy nowadays. I got this from an old guy who like sold some reels, and he like proudly told me how well you took care of them and that they're like in excellent condition. I was like, yeah, I only use them for foley anyway, and like ripped the tape out. So yeah, and you can like perform it nicely, like how much friction you want or need. You can also use it for like eggs in a pan when you fry them. But I also like to use actual plants because they sound less dry, and you have to kind of find the right one and be like in the in the flower shop, like. And I was like, so like basil, I found like basil is a really good source for like affordable and nice sounding plant sounds.
I have to say, old cat cable, not like a meow cat, but like an Ethernet cable, cat cables. You take old like Ethernet cables, you bundle them together as a like this thing, and if you twist that, it makes like a kind of a sound. Which I worked on a plant game called Atomic Crops, and in that I used that a bunch. And in Badland we have lots of organic kind of plants and branches turning and stuff. The cat cable works perfectly for that. Wet toilet paper is great as well, or a kitchen paper. You put that and you go, and then the more moist the paper is, it makes a more moist sound. But when it gets a bit drier, it makes nice kind of organic kind of sounds, and your mouth is perfect for stuff like that.
Leather can also be a
Yours specifically.
source for friction. Like if it's about roots growing, you can also squeeze some leathery things together.
Yes, leather, that's good, yes. Oh, and something, I don't know what the English term is, but it's like fire gloves. Not like gloves on fire, but like gloves to handle fiery stuff. It's this weird rubbery thing. I use those for a bunch of like kind of plantsy stuff as well. If it's like a plant growing, you can kind of use the friction of your fingers and your palm to go like, but it sounds not like that. It sounds kind of more plantsy. And you know, yeah, gloves. And then if you want to get messy, stuff like pudding, like, you know, like yogurt pudding and stuff like that. Anything kind of squishy and kind of textury, and putting like your hand in there and going, or gloves are good for that. You get kind of this weird kind of byproduct sounds and stuff. Latex gloves, like which can get from normal stores or special stores for latex stuff, but. There's lots of ways. Yoga mats are good, like a yoga mat or camping mat, like on a tent when you want to have a little mat. Those you can kind of process in many ways. Yes. Pew.
Excuse me. Oh God. Thanks. How much do you find yourself usually layering? Because sometimes I feel like it's very easy to just put way too many layers and then you lose all the subtlety. And then also I have a tendency of just being like, no layers. I just want the one sound. Like for you personally, what do you usually wind up doing?
From one layer up to, I don't know, 237 layers. It depends. I know the pain. But what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm max 10 layers usually. I mean, it depends if I have like a sound that needs like tons of variations. I sometimes build like the bass sound and then like layer variations on top. Yeah, but I tend to not use too many layers, but like going with all in one layer, wow. Respect. Not for me, because then I'm like, I feel this intense pressure of like everything needs to be perfect in one go. So I kind of like to find things that stack well on top of each other, but I think it's mostly 5 to 10 max for me.
Yeah, and something that helps with layers for me is to kind of plan, just like this talk, plan a kind of what do you want from the sound? What is the function of the sound? What is the sonic quality of the sound going to be like? Like you mentioned, like a bass layer. Then like let's say you are doing footsteps. So a bass layer for the kind of thump, maybe, like it depends on the footstep, but let's say footsteps. Bass layer for the thump, and then the actual kind of shoe or material layer, and then maybe like a cloth layer, like trousers going, and ouch. Kind of planning on what the layers are that you want to be present, and kind of like that. I've noticed that I can minimize the amount of layers, but it always depends on the sound. Like some sounds just require ridiculous amounts, but really, I guess 1 to 10, 5 to 10 or something like that sounds about realistic most of the time. But sometimes it's inception levels of.
Yeah, sometimes I also like to layer, obviously, things in game, like that you have like 3 layers of like, let's say, low frequency content, mid frequency, and high frequency, or whatever, or something that gives texture on top, and then like have different variations of each of them, and then combine them within the game engine. So.
Yeah.
But I don't count those into the 5 layers. So maybe I have like 15 to 30. I don't know.
I mean, it depends on the game, the technicality of the game or movie or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely feel your pain with losing the detail when you have too many layers. So you also have to make sure that your layers are kind of like distinct and transport what you want to transport with the layer. But yeah.
Yeah, and actually for like messy, like if a sound is too messy, something I've noticed is shortening the tail of the sound. The beginning of the sound to be right away punchy. I'm talking about video games specifically now. Movies are a completely different thing, but like video games, like the beginning to be kind of, unless there's a reason for it to being longer, but like usually video game sounds, it starts like right away and it ends really quick. Because if you have a video game and there's like 120 sounds playing together at the same time. If they're all long, your game will just be like it's too much sound and info. If it's shorter, it gives your brain kind of more time to go, oh, that thing, that thing, that thing, that thing, and that thing. So keeping things short and punchy is.
Yeah, that's something I had to learn when I started working in video games, definitely.
Yeah, that's the difference between kind of movie audio and video game audio.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
What time is it? Do we have questions?
Also, do we need to clear the stage within?
We have time for one more question.
So the next cool thing starts at 12:15. Maybe we could do one question.
One quick question.
Or 2 short ones. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
There we go.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, I was wondering, when you're just like out and about and you hear a cool sound, do you often do like just like little mini recordings just to be like, oh, I'll look at this later, just like for reference? And do you have any particular equipment, or is it just like your phone? Or
Exactly. This is the thing that's pretty much always with me, maybe even in the shower. But so you find these cool moments. Of course, the phone recording rarely is that great. It can be. I've used phone recordings in the past for like birds and stuff. But just getting the idea, and I might even either write on the file it's as the name of the file, like keep in mind this and this thing, or like if it's like a cool, I don't know, a door or something. I'm like, oh, listen to the creak, And then later on, when I see the recording, it's not like audio 580 something. I'm like, oh, cool creak, and I listen to it. I'm like, oh, okay, how would I reproduce that? Or should I go back and record it again? Like sometimes I will write where I recorded the sound. Like if it's something somewhere local, I know, well, I can just go and record it properly. But yeah, usually just out and about my phone. Yeah. But sometimes I just go for walks with a recorder, and that's fun. Finding little gold in the wild.
Yeah, I'm really bad at recording. When I'm out there in private, I also hate that kind of. I know that's like every other sound person might be shaking their heads at me, but I'm like, I love my work, but I also love my spare time, and I don't want to think about it all the time. Like my brain is in sound so much of the time, so if at all, I take out my phone to remember the thing, but that's all I can ask myself for in my free time.
Yeah, and that's actually a good takeaway, I think, is that creating sounds, it's an art form. This is not going to go into a rant, I will promise that. The sound it's an art form just like anything else, and it's about fun. What makes your art your art? What do you enjoy doing? Like someone might say, oh, you have to do this thing, you have to always have this thing with you have to always record with this microphone or whatever.
You can say fuck.
Fuck that. Thank you. Yeah, fuck that. Just do whatever makes you. Whatever is your art, it fits the project in your way, just go for that. That's more interesting. Me as a person who enjoys playing video games a lot and watching movies and stuff, I like when the game sounds like itself. It's just refreshing. I'm like, wow, what is this? Like, it doesn't need to be like, oh, I recorded this with a 20,000 euro microphone made out of hair or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I would add like the performance and also like the surroundings have a much bigger impact on the quality of the sound than the microphone. Like if you record in a shitty environment where you have like a lot of room reverberation and noise, then your sound is gonna suffer much more than from a microphone of like 600 euros or 3,000 euros.
Yeah, and it can be a stylistic thing even. Like I had a friend who recorded with a webcam. Like he didn't have a microphone back then at his home, and he made this kind of whistling thing for a song with his webcam. And it sounded brilliant because it had that room and all this, like his computer going in the background. Yeah. But it's, it gave character, and I like that. That's like, ooh, I would never do that, but that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like I used vocals once in a song that I recorded into my MacBook internal microphone because I had COVID, was in my bedroom and felt shitty and made a song, and so yeah. And then later I tried to record it with a proper microphone, and I was like, no, this doesn't capture the shitty feeling enough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like I've had projects that I only recorded and made with like an iPad because it felt right for the project.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's so many ways to make cool art.
I think that's a good ending statement.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we have to be out of here now? Shit.